previously on HOBOTECH.
I contacted the warranty company this morning. And they're trying to make a decision, but we pulled the pan. There was a lot of metal in the pan.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, you know from the hassle of that overdrive unit from the last time and all that stuff that some of these parts are hard to come by. Our best, Ben and I were talking about this, I think our best game plan would be to have that shop drop the transmission. I will send a pod out to pick that transmission up, bring it back here, have them go through it, rebuild everything, and then send it back to the shop. So all those pieces, those main pieces, obviously like the output shaft and stuff like that, all stay the same.
Yeah, that's understandable. And my only concern is the amount of time it's going to take to do that.
Probably at about that 10 to 12 business day window.
So what you're saying is about 2 weeks then before I have my vehicle back.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I have some additional information to share here. I've been having issues with my differential for quite a while now. Basically, it makes like a loud grinding noise at speed. It sounds like an Imperial fighter. It's like, and the faster I go, the louder it gets. It's been like that for a very long time. It's kind of sounded like that when I bought it because I think the person who owned it before me ran the differential dry. Because when I first had it inspected, and I took it to a shop to get some brakes done, they said, you realize your wheel axles are leaking, the rear wheel axle bearings. And I said, no. And they're like, oh yeah, it looks like you're pretty much run out of fluid. And I said, that probably explains why I was getting that noise. It wasn't that loud at the time. This was like 20,000 miles ago. So I had them replace the rear axle seals and fill it back up with fluid. And it didn't go away, but it didn't get worse. Now, one time I noticed it got really bad was when I was making the trip from Cottonwood to Tucson, or maybe it was vice versa, and I got caught in a traffic jam that basically a 3-hour trip turned into a 7-hour trip. I was doing stop and go for about 4 hours to go about 3 miles. Seriously, it was like 3 miles, took me 4 hours. I noticed when I finally got out of the traffic and sped up that the rear axle was screaming. It was grinding really loud, and then I noticed after I was driving for a while, maybe whatever lubrication was left in there splashed around and the noise didn't get as bad. But I noticed ever since then, it was a lot louder than normal, and it was happening at all these different speeds now. It wasn't just highway speeds, but now it was making the noise at 10, 15, 20 miles an hour, because when I first bought the van, it was only happening at highway speed. And I had a Dodge Challenger, which made the same noise brand new, so I didn't think anything of it. I mean, that's generally like a Chrysler drivetrain sound. You know, got a little bit of a whine to it. But this was getting louder and louder. In case you didn't notice on the sign, the transmission shop also does differentials. So I told them, go ahead and take the pumpkin cover off and take a look inside and tell me what they think. Because basically I figured I probably need a rebuild, and I may as well do it at the same time as the transmission's getting done, because I'm not going to have the van for a while anyway. I know for a fact it's going to take weeks, maybe a month or more to get my transmission, because it's going all the way to Milwaukee and back. So I don't really know how long it's going to take. But I figured, well, it's sitting there at the shop, and I'm not living in it, Odin's not in it, and they got it anyway, and they're an expert on differentials. Go ahead and take a look at it. Well, I gave them the okay to open up the pumpkin and take a look at it, and when they opened it up, they said metal parts were falling out, like metal chunks. I figured it would just be a rebuild, and I know a rebuild's going to be like $1,000. But, and that's what they quoted me anyway, I think it was $1,100 and change for the rebuild, and I said, okay, let's go ahead and do the rebuild if it's that bad. But they went ahead and they tried to pull the axles out, and they couldn't get the axles out because the bearings were so bad. Basically, they told me I need a whole new rear end. So they need to replace the entire rear end on my van. Now, I'm not going to go for a brand new one because they're like $4,000 or $5,000, right? So they're going to look around for a used rear end for my van, a 3500. It's the B3500. It's a 1-ton, so it's a heavy-duty axle. So they're going to look around for that. And hopefully they find one, because if they don't find one, they told me I can get one through, guess who? Jasper, for lots of money. That's all he said. He wouldn't give me the amount, but he said it's very, very expensive. And I'm figuring $4,000 or $5,000 because Jasper charges out the butt for everything. So here we go. I'm going to get the transmission done, which at least that should be covered by Best Buy transmission. But I also need to get the rear end replaced. So it's going to be in the shop for a while. So I didn't get a chance to actually record any of the phone calls because I didn't have this camera in the RV with me whenever they called. So I'll just give you guys an update on what's going on. I guess we're going to find out how long this is really going to take and what it's going to cost in the end. I have a feeling it's probably going to be pretty expensive, so I guess we'll find out. Hey guys, it's April 1st. I think it's been 5 or 6 weeks since I broke down. My van's been at the shop ever since. We're finally picking it up today. Yay! So here we go. Let's hope everything's working on the thing when I pick it up. So here we are at AA All-Star Transmission. I'm here to pick up my ride. I haven't seen it in weeks. I came out here a few weeks ago to get some stuff out of it. And well, that's the last time I saw it. Hopefully it's back here somewhere, and they said it's ready to go, so let's find out. Here's the office.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
And there she is. First time I've seen her in about a month. Hopefully everything in here is legit. Everything's still a mess. I completely shut everything down. The batteries, propane, everything is off. Solar's off. Basically, this is just how it's been sitting. And I was kind of hoping I didn't have any like mouse poop or other nasties in here. So let's just start her up and make sure everything works. So everything under the hood looks good. Sounds good. It's totally dry under there, so no problems. They put my wheel spacers back on. This is a new differential. Well, it's a used differential, but he said it looked immaculate whenever they took it apart, so it's practically as good as new. So they put my wheel spacers on. They put some new U-bolts. I can see right there, it says 3903AA. There's only one thing left to do, and that's drive it on the interstate. Let's see if everything's working. Let's go do it. So far, so good. It seems like it's shifting okay, but the real challenge here is gonna be when we get on the I-10 and gun it, check and make sure that the overdrive and everything is working. It certainly feels like it's got a nice pull compared to before. Here we go, interstate on-ramp. 45, we're in second. Third. Overdrive. There we go. What's weird is this sounds completely different now. Like I was used to like the really loud whining noise coming from the rear end, and it's silent in here now. It seems like it's shifting fine. I might have to do a little bit of adjustment on the kickdown. It feels like it is revving up pretty high. So there we go. My transmission is shifting again, all 4 gears. And we're heading back to Donnie and Rachel's after I get propane and gas. So, what an adventure. It only took, what, 5-6 weeks from the time I left Quartzsite to actually be back in the driver's seat. So, very glad that I was able to just pay for it this time without any problems. All right, made it back home, no problems, no leaks. I still got a little bit of smell from the transmission fluid that's burning off of the headers. But other than that, no leaks, no problems. I got propane, gas, I'm all fueled up, I'm ready to park this thing and do a lot of work on it. I basically got to put my 3rd battle-worn battery in. I got to pull the bed out. I got some rewiring to do. I got to fix the refrigerator. My propane fridge is full of mold right now because I didn't really have a chance to clean it before I parked it. I took all the food out, but everything defrosted, it's wet, got nasty. I have weeks worth of work to do on this thing, so that's what I'm going to focus on next. I'm going to even knock on some wood here. Just out of stupid superstition. No more transmission problems. So, new rear end sounds great. It's kind of surprising how quiet it is now. I mean, I spent years just listening to that thing whine as I was driving. It actually looks like the ass end's up a little bit higher than it used to be. It looks like it's maybe an inch taller, and I don't know how that could be. They just put the same springs and blocks on top. So, I don't know. Is it worth $2,300? Probably not. You got to pay the piper unless you do the work yourself. There's no way I would be able to find a used rear end, let alone be able to put it in myself. I don't even have a jack, which I'm going to change that. Now that I got this trailer, I'm thinking about getting a 3-ton jack so I can jack this thing up and do some of my own work on it. So, hope you guys enjoy the adventure. Till next time. Fast forward 3 weeks, we're now towards the end of April, and I'm in here in the van doing a bunch of work. I'm almost finished. Propane upgrade that I have going on. Rewired some other stuff. But the reason why I'm coming back here 3 weeks later is to show you guys something that I discovered a few days after recording the last bit of video. I thought that was going to be the end of part 2. But then I realized there was something wrong with the rear end they installed. So let's go take a look. So take a look at this. Does anything look wrong to you? I mean, compared to how I had it before, the tire was centered front to back. If you look, that gap there is not even barely 2 inches. This gap up here is like 4 or 5 inches. I also noticed when I look down, that this side of the tire actually is in more than the driver's side. Let's go look at the driver's side. So you have the same story over here on the driver's side, a huge gap in the front and a smaller gap in behind. But the gap on this side is actually about 2.5 inches. So it's not as much as the other side. Let's take a look at it straight on. Now look at it straight down. You can clearly see, compared to the other side, that this tire is sticking out further. And I measured it. So absolutely there is something wrong, something misaligned with the new rear end. Now I did climb underneath and I took a look, and it does look like the blocks have slid, or maybe they just tightened it down in the wrong place. Let me try to show you. It's kind of hard to get under there with the camera, but let me show you what I'm talking about. You can see right there, it does look like the lift blocks are back about an inch and a half further than what they used to be. I contacted the transmission shop that did the rear end, and I sent them pictures, and they said, yep, that absolutely does not look right. Bring it back in, and we'll fix it. So it's been 3 weeks because I've been trying to, A, get videos done whenever the weather complies. Today it's very windy. I shouldn't even be recording outside. So between editing videos and doing other work on the van, I really haven't been able to just pack it up and drive it the half hour and get it worked on. They said it's going to take a couple of hours, so I basically got to be prepared for that. I need to put the bed back in this thing, get all my tools out of here, and basically get it prepared to drive again. And I'm going to do that here probably on this coming Monday. Fast forward to go into the shop. Hey guys, I am heading back to AA All-Star Transmission to get the axle repair. Basically to get it realigned because it is not straight. They told me to come in Wednesday, April 29th, and it's a little after 1 o'clock it looks like. That clock's right. That says 1:58, so maybe it's closer to 2. I'm heading up there right now. They said it's going to take a couple hours to put it up on jack and realign that rear end that I had them install. So that's what I'm going to do right now. It's 103 degrees here in Tucson. Alright peeps, I just picked my van back up. They realigned the axle. It actually looks normal now. Got the gaps on the right side. Everything looks good. I can't see my tire anymore sticking out on the driver's side. They got it all lined up. It's driving nice and straight. Feels pretty good, I think. Hopefully, knock on wood, and that's real wood, the job is done. So now I can release part 3 of the video. But first, time to get an oil change. So here's the final job. You can see lined up a lot better than it used to be. And here's how I've been measuring it. Basically right there where the gap is, I put my fist. Same thing on this side. It looks normal again. So right there I put my fist between the wheel and the fender, and it's the same. So yes, they finally got it sorted out. All right, peeps, there you have it. There's the finale, the 3-part series of the transmission and rear end fiasco. So one of the other videos I want to make is a follow-up to what it cost me in the last 3 years to keep this thing on the road. That's mechanical issues and repairs only. None of the upgrades, anything like that, like the solar, none of that counts. Now I know exactly down to the dollar what I've paid to keep this thing on the road between maintenance, gasoline, stuff like that, because I log everything for tax purposes. And I know you guys have to be curious what it cost to keep a 25-year-old Roadtrek on the Dodge platform on the road. But go ahead and guess what I spent on the last 3 years just on maintenance. And we'll do that in a future video. And I'm pretty sure that will cause a lot of controversy. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up below. And if you're not a subscriber already, you know what to do. That's it for now. Till next time.
Odin commands you to like and subscribe. And clean my litter box.
Final point I want to make is I did not post this transmission fiasco issue to try to get donations from people. I don't want your money. The transmission is paid for. The rear end work is paid for. Everything's paid for. Now, the real reason I did this series on the transmission is because I want you guys to know how good Best Buy transmission is. They not only picked up the tab for the transmission and labor, but also paid for my tow, which they didn't have to. They went above and beyond, and I had no problems with support. They followed up constantly. They sent me emails every couple days. They were better than the shop at getting in touch with me. So I have no complaints at all for Best Buy transmission. I still have several years left on the warranty. That transmission, when I originally installed it, has a 5-year warranty, and it's only been like a year and a half, just under 2 years. So I have 3 more years plus of warranty to go. So if I have another problem, I know Best Buy transmission is going to fix it. And for those of you who don't know anything about the story of the original transmission problem, make sure you watch to the very end of this video. After the credits, I'm going to have my playlist posted there for Stranded 28 Days in Rawlins, Wyoming for you new subscribers who weren't around 2 years ago when I originally had the transmission failure and went to Best Buy for the install. The shop I went to was shady, very problematic, very overpriced and expensive. They were basically doing predatory practices. Little tiny small town on an interstate. People would drive up the mountain there because it's like at the top of a mountain, burn up their transmission. They were the only place in town open. Therefore, predatory practices. Now, in the end, it all worked out, but I was stranded 28 days there in a freezing cold parking lot where they wouldn't let me plug in, they wouldn't ride me to the store, they wouldn't drive me to get propane. I was able to actually get water from them, which was nice, but here I am spending thousands of dollars in their shop, and they wouldn't even let me plug in to get my heater running or my refrigerator going without propane and stuff like that. So it wasn't a very pleasant experience. I ended up spending about 7 or 8 days in a nearby hotel room. It was very cold, very windy. It was snowing at the time. This was late October, basically, in Rawlins, Wyoming. So don't worry about me or Heidi or Odin or Thor or anybody else here. We've been locked down here in Arizona at a friend's place for the last couple of months, plugged in. We got air conditioning, we got water, we got propane, everything we need. It wasn't this bad of an experience this time, although it did take longer. It took about 6 weeks for the transmission to get done, and then it took another about a week for the rear end replacement, and then it was about another 3 days. I just picked up the van today. Today's May 1st. I just picked up the van today for its final alignment of the rear end. So all in all, it took about 2 months being off the road in my van to get everything sorted out. Now, I have no complaints about the transmission company. One of the things that they told me was right during the beginning of the pandemic, they decided to open a second shop. Half their mechanics went to the new shop. So they were not only short-handed, but they're dealing with this pandemic BS. And they have a full parking lot of vehicles right now. There's got to be 30 vehicles in their back lot, and they were doing their best to get me in and out of there as fast as they can. Now, of course, a lot of that waiting was the shipping back and forth to Milwaukee, because the transmission company did drop my current transmission, ship it off to Milwaukee to have it rebuilt, then shipped back and installed. And this was all going down during the pandemic, so shipping slower. I'm sure stuff at the rebuild shop was slower, and things at the transmission shop were obviously slower due to their lack of mechanics on site. So it probably would have taken half the time if it was normal circumstances, but because of all of this mess that's going on right now, yeah, it took me 2 months to get my van back on the road and 100%. I'm not really complaining. I was able to stay with Heidi. We've been plugged in here under air conditioning. Everything else, not a problem. Now, it has been 105 degrees yesterday, 102 today. It is a little swampy here, but we're planning on sticking it out for a little while longer here in Arizona. You guys were so good to me last time, helping to pay for the transmission the first time around. The second time around, I had the money in the bank. So just don't worry about it. It's paid for, taken care of, and we're all back on the road. Thanks again. I'll see you guys next time. Hey, thank you for watching our video. If you liked it, be sure to subscribe, share, and like. And we'll see you guys next time. Say hi, Odin.
RV Golf Guy.